I've never felt more angry or disgusted by Parliament that couldn't live with the referendum result. The idea of going now into another referendum, we have to focus now on one thing: economic growth and prosperity, and reducing our massive debts. We've been lying to the world about our debts. Our debts are much greater than people will face up to, and the responsibility for that is Labour and Conservative.
Hello, this is Matt Chorley from Times Radio. Today I'm joined by David Owen, Lord Owen, former Foreign Secretary, former leader of the SDP, and author of the hugely timely book, Riddle, Mystery and Enigma, 200 Years of British-Russian Relations. David, let's start with British-Russian relations, clearly dominated by Ukraine. The visit by Volodymyr Zelensky, hugely symbolic, although I'm not sure what you think will change from it. Rishi Sunak said in the Commons he wants to see a decisive military victory in Ukraine this year. Do you think that's realistic?
I think it is realistic, but it requires a huge effort from NATO. I don't think we should shift the policy. We are not in a war with Russia, but we are a defensive alliance, and it's perfectly legitimate for us to pass weapons to somebody who has been attacked, and attacked twice. There have been 2 invasions of Ukraine, and there is every expectation that unless we settle this, there'll be a third.
What do you think that looks like Britain's evolving involvement? And do you think that if we'd done everything we're doing now 6 months ago, would that have had more impact? It feels like there's sort of these various stages of we're not going to send missiles and then we do, we're not going to send tanks and then we do, we're not going to send planes and then we do. Would it have been better if we'd been more forceful to begin with?
Depends who you mean by we. As far as this country is concerned, I really think we can genuinely say we were up there for this very early on, almost first. And we had that greater freedom, if you like, that we make decisions now in Britain on foreign and defence policy just on our own. We are not involved in EU decision-making, and I think that helped. But fundamentally, this is a NATO decision, and we have to, at the very least, keep up with the United States, and if need be, occasionally move in advance. I think there is no doubt that what is uppermost in his mind for the UK is aircraft. I personally think the best offer would be to go back to what was thought about, namely let the MiGs in Poland go to the Ukrainians and put our aircraft into Poland. That would be very quick. Flying a plane is a very visible. A new plane that they are not used to is not going to be there. What they need now is more MiGs. Their pilots fly MiGs. They could do it immediately. And Poland is ready to do it, but they can't give up all their aircraft themselves. They have to have replacements. So Britain could step in and supply aircraft to Poland.
And would that be just aircraft, or would that be pilots as well, do you think? If it was
No, there are pilots, very skilled pilots in Poland. Look, Poland in many ways is the European country that has stepped up to the plate more than any other. They've taken unbelievable numbers of refugees, over 3 million, and they have been at every aspect of what Ukraine needs. Poland has played a central role.
And what does victory over Russia look like? Does it mean pushing back the border to where it was early last year? Does it mean going back to pre-2014 and the annexation of Crimea? What does victory against Russia look like?
Sometimes people say, victory when you see it. It's very hard to describe. Most wars end with a negotiation. I would far prefer this war to end with a negotiation. Just settling it only for Putin to come back again, which I'm sure he would. So we need a settlement that is permanent, and that means sound boundaries. It's tempting to say they should give up everything, but we in the West, in my view quite disgracefully, allowed the first invasion. So Crimea is more than just a complex question. It's probably an issue on which, unless Crimea was to stay in Russia, there'd be no negotiation. And I'm not ready to say there should be no negotiation. I think that is the preferable result.
And what do you think happens to Putin? Keir Starmer at PMQs this week was saying he should be put on trial at The Hague. Do you think that's realistic?
Again, I'm pretty wary of that. Firstly, it's not going to happen unless Russia was beaten, and Russia is not going to be beaten. And I think it's the wrong language to use, quite frankly. We are not going to destroy Russia so much so that they will offer up to The Hague. We're not going to send the SAS into Russia to seize Putin and take him to The Hague. A lot of these legal solutions, it's perhaps no accident that Starmer's a lawyer, are, an illusion. We were able to do it in the Balkans, which I know very well, because we got a resolution through in the UN and we had support for international action. And we had the special court that we set up to try war crimes committed in Yugoslavia, carried by the UN. We're not going to get that in Russia.
And in terms of Britain's long-term relationship with Russia, you're a former Foreign Secretary, you've followed this relationship for a long time. Was there a moment where Britain and the West could have curtailed Putin that meant that we didn't get to either Crimea or the invasion last year?
Well, I have no doubt myself at all that we should have resisted or taken very strong measures on the first invasion. There was an appeasement mood. The then British government under David Cameron did nothing. Now, at least they didn't get involved in the Minsk process, which was the French and the Germans. Angela Merkel did not want to take on Putin in any aggressive way. I think that was a massive mistake. And I think that the French went along with that too. The British just weren't there. They didn't. Maybe they didn't want to have a great breakup with France and Germany, so they left them to sort it out. But they never did sort it out. Minsk was a failure.
When do you think a resolution will come if Putin is beatable?
A revolution within Russia?
No, a resolution, not a revolution. A revolution in Russia is a very different thing. No, a resolution, a defeat. When can Putin be defeated?
I would say maybe the summer, late summer, September would be the first time we're likely to see a proper negotiation, because both sides will want to prove their strength on the ground, and that means our support for Ukraine must come in the next few weeks and months. If we allow Russia to have an offensive without serious weapons, so I hope personally the British Challenger tanks are already in Ukraine, and I don't believe there's any room for delay in Leopard tanks coming from the rest of Europe. This business of renovating some old Leopard tanks is ridiculous. They've got to come soon. Weeks, not months.